What the hell kind of music can we put to that?
Like a little soft, a little sleepy, a little dreamy.
I'm not sure why I went gay voice with both the intro and that, but I was inspired by I love the show The Traitors. It's like the only reality show I watch, and it's hosted by Alan Cumming, and so I was kind of doing like a non-Scottish version of his voice.
The American Alan Cumming.
That'd be Alan Jizzing.
You say Stephen Jizzing?
Hello and welcome to the Bridgeburners Book Club, where together we read, discuss, criticize, and get excited about all things science fiction and fantasy. I'm your host, Sean, and with me is my co-host, Tyler.
That's me.
And our co-host, Ben.
Ben Bornhald. My daddy is dead, and I'm going to take it out on all you witches.
We're excited to have you along with us each week as we take a journey together through the books we love.
Sean, I want someday you to just give me a sample of all of my wheezes that I do after Ben does that. there's a solid like 20 minutes of wheezing now that we've collected.
Yeah, it's always a surprise, which I appreciate. Yeah, he's definitely the character of this fucking set of chapters here.
I'm angry, I'm dusty, and my men have run away.
I don't know. Have we encountered him from like his perspective before? I can't remember.
He was the guy back all the way in Barely On who confronted them, and that's when Moraine turned into the giant lady. So that's Dane.
Oh, he was Captain Bornhald or whatever.
That's when he went gay.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, she blasted his sword into a right angle, and then it was all downhill for old Dane Cook Bornhold from there.
There's definitely like a big men in tights vibe for the children, the white cloaks.
Yeah. They were really badass in the first chapter of this book, and then this chapter they're kind of slapstick. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah. And also like inferred in the middle chapter of the last episode where they get pulled into Rand's Verin shit.
Oh yeah, right.
Which, like, you know, I don't think anyone can resist, but I think the fact that they're so affected by that, like any peasant, shows that most of them are pretty weak-willed and little MAGA. God, I almost said it.
We're starting off strong here.
I'll call a Nazi I'm not going to say it. Never.
I was imagining Dane as as like an anime, like kind of the anime slapsticky thing where super over the top, someone's just yelling like, "Oh, you guys, I'm gonna get."
Oh yeah.
I just like him as like as a silent film character who's just like like the ground bursts up and he grabs his cane and he's like,
and then like all the rest of the white cloaks go riding off, but one of them is somehow riding backwards on a horse. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they all scatter. Yeah, and anyways, we'll get more to that later, more Dane talk. That chapter was kind of interesting. It was like, a storm's coming. Here's some foreshadowing. The storm came immediately, and then it was gone.
A very limp-wristed storm.
I really actually kind of hope that wasn't the storm. I didn't even consider it till now. I didn't even cross my mind that little encounter was the thing that they had presaged the whole first part of the chapter. Anyway, we're ahead of ourselves.
These chapters overall, I thought they're pretty decent.
This has like strong first third of the book energy for these three chapters. There was that middle one where I'm like, what? Or no, even the last chapter in Tar Valon, which is like cool descriptions and cool stuff, but like, God damn it if nothing happens. Yeah,
we had kind of a string of travel chapters between both episodes, which is kind of fun. I think we kind of like grouped those together, you know, inadvertently well, because, you know, we're getting two travel episodes out of the way. And then I think stuff, you know, events are going to start happening like right off the bat in the next one.
Yeah. First one, we get Perrin exploration of wolf magic, and also some Moiraine and Perrin character development, I guess, and relationship development. Moiraine literally is like, maybe I've ignored all the other people. Only talk about Rand all the time.
But I'd still kill you at a drop of a hat.
That's like the closest she's ever come to like admitting a mistake, or that like maybe she doesn't know 100% of what she's doing. Like, maybe there's that. Is that growth? Are we seeing growth in Moiraine? Oh, I didn't know.
Maybe, yeah. And then the other two chapters are reintroduction to Egwene, and then also along with her, we of course get Nynaeve and Elaine, and Hurin makes an appearance and then is gone, and Verin, a lot of Verin.
But until now, this has been all Perrin, right? So this is the episode where we finally break out. We get even a little bit of Rand, and then we get into Egwene. Yeah,
we'll save it. But the part of Rand we get is like weird, but man, that's consequential.
Yeah,
in a way that you would never know. Spoiler, Sean, I guess.
He kills a lot of dogs later in the series.
Oh, okay. No, not like Dags.
That's not it. That's not it.
He does make a little appearance, which is also like, I want to ask about that, but when we get to it, I have a question about that little moment, but maybe I don't want to know because maybe I'm going to spoil myself or whatever. It would be nice to have some mysteries in this series that actually surprise me when they come up. Because like I've also, to this point, I've been spoiled by the show a lot. And then also I had read the first book, a while back. This is the newest territory overall that I've been in with this series right now. So I'm enjoying having like a complete mystery to it. Besides, like, you pretty much assume that Rand will probably fight and just defeat the Dark One. It's got to be an ultimate battle between good and evil in this series. It just feels like that kind of book. So I pretty much expect that, but everything else along the way can be filled in now. And I think it's time to move to the next chapter.
Chapter 9, Wolf Dreams. Perrin returns to his room while in a state of confusion and dismay, given Gnome's fate and the potential outcome of Perrin's own condition. In a fit of bravery, Perrin enters Moraine's room to seek her advice on how to stave off his bestial nature, but Moiraine is without a solid answer, as usual, other than advising Perrin to protect against his dreams. Speaking of dreams, Perrin dreams. He wakes in an endless hallway full of white pillars and darkness, preying around the edges. The ghost of Hopper bids him to flee, and Perrin heeds his warning and runs down the hallway, where he encounters a man in odd clothing, who is soon flayed from head to toe by the lurking shadows. He then encounters a beautiful woman who is surprised by his presence, and then he wakes up. Finally, changing point of view, Rand baits dogs into attacking him so he can practice his Super Saiyan existence erasing moves.
Is that what happened? I said I had questions about that, but maybe you had just answered all of them, I think.
Yeah.
He's revealing his power move. Like, it's what you get when his meter gets up and then you hit X and Y at the same time.
I do like how we just always talk about food with Perrin. Like, he's got he's got like an eating disorder going on or something. I feel like he's forming some kind of, it's like, oh, I don't want to give in to my wolf nature and become a beast man,
but I sure do love meat.
I'm just not going to eat now, because it's like opens up talking about him like ignoring food.
Yeah.
Smells like food, and then it gets cold and it doesn't anymore, and he doesn't eat it.
You got an eating disorder now. Wait, just real fast. What I would love to see at the beginning of this chapter would have been like a flashback to somebody nearby, like an innkeeper or something. And they're like, whoa, there's a weird wolf man outside our lawn. And he's like, no, it's just a garden gnome. Because the guy's name is Gnome. Okay, never mind.
Garden gnome.
Garden gnome.
Is there a way we can bail fire Tyler out of this entire series?
You can. But then you wouldn't get the Dick Nipples jokes or chicknipples.com.
No.
So I have contributed exactly 2 things to this podcast.
We'll have to have a conclave over it.
Did you guys watch that movie, Conclave?
Yeah.
Very good.
No, I did not, but it seems good.
Yeah. Not in the theater.
Same.
I don't watch Catholic media. I watch lots of Catholic media. I watched the Borgias. That was good.
I only believe in pickle Jesus.
I forgot about pickle Jesus.
Perrin is all about his dreaming, talking about Gnome, worrying that he's going to turn into Gnome, who's, as we discussed last time, is just kind of like shoved in there to get, Perrin to this point where he's at in this chapter where he actually comes to Moiraine and asks her for help. He humbles himself before her.
Bows and scrapes like a serf.
And she admits she's wrong? Like, geez, wow.
Even when she admits she's wrong, it's like a Machiavellian, like, okay, they hate me too much. They're going to love me a little more. I mean, she has some human moments when she's like, trout fishing with the boys.
Just tickling that trout.
But she's very calculated.
We start out with Perrin going to Moiraine to ask her about, basically he wants her to help him deal with this and like not become a beast man, which, do you guys get the vibe that, it seems to me like if we think of the whole wolf brother thing as like Perrin's destiny in this whole thing.
Wolf brother.
Is he having his arc just like Rand or whatever, like where he is rejecting destiny and has to accept it?
Yeah.
I feel like that's, are we just going to get that with every, well, Egwene's not really doing it, I think. And Nynaeve is kind of giving in.
Egwene and Nynaeve are they actually Ta'Veren?
Yeah, I don't know if they're really Ta'Veren.
Or are they just affected by Ta'Veren?
I feel like Egwene's got a nice arc around like the power or the like being a slave basically for the Shan-Chan.
Yeah, that's her thing.
I think that's kind of her thing. And then Nynaeve's just pissed and in love with Lan. Whatever.
Yeah. But we don't know any. Matt is barely a character. We'll get to Matt.
He's like a corpse in this good bit. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been a human prop throughout the entire series so far, essentially. Just a person that they carry around, and occasionally he says a few lines that are abrasive.
I saw a couple of clips from the show. Yeah. Where he's like actually talking. I'm like, whoa, Matt has lines in this show? That's amazing.
Yeah.
He was nothing last
He's much
book.
more of a character.
Yeah.
Man, what a weird one day we should talk about like why Matt, like, did Robert Jordan mean to incapacitate Matt for such a long time? or maybe he didn't mean for him to be a main character, like an actual main character. And
no, I feel like he clearly set him up as one of the three from the beginning. I think it was just like, he just like, okay, I know what I want this guy to do, but I'm more focused on Rand and Perrin right now. I think he just like, he didn't want to be developing all three characters simultaneously. So like, this is Perrin's bit. And then I think eventually we don't ever really get a whole bunch of Matt's bit from what I can really remember, but.
Or he just like, he committed to Shadow Logoth and then he was like, uh-oh, I've made a mistake.
My whole point was just that when we finally get Matt chapters, are we going to get a Matt like arc in the same way where he's rejecting destiny? I feel like the vibe I've gotten so far is that Matt doesn't have like a hero's destiny or something. He's like something different, but I don't really know enough about him because, as we just said, he's barely in it so far. But he is the guy. He blew the horn, so he did that.
He's got
that was one thing.
Yeah, and that's the same in the show too. He's the horn blower.
He does blow that horn. That is why they're taking the horn and Matt together and blah, blah, blah. He's got to get him healed. But also, like, I feel like here's the thing. Are they going to make him a character now? And is he going to get healed right away? Or do we have to like go through this whole arc of Matt learning to be a person again? Is he just going to be like normal once they heal him,
It's an intensive 18 months of physical therapy to really get back from a Mordeth knife injury. Yeah, it's just nothing you can do about it. Yeah,
that's what I would imagine reality is like, but I'm hoping that that's not what the book is like. I just want Matt to get healed and become like a contributor to this story.
They have Matt do like practice pranks.
We got Perrin, who is dealing with his fucking destiny here, and I'm kind of feeling pretty like I don't really care that much about that, to be honest. I kind of want him to just get through it and be like badass like Rand.
Moraine basically just says, like, we don't know a whole lot about it, but then, like, they do talk about dreamers encountering wolves in their dreams, and then you look up at the top of the page and the chapter title is Wolf Dreams. They're like, oh, okay, I see why this is this.
Mm-hmm. I think the interesting thing, besides the angle of it that I'm enjoying more with Perrin, that's not just him wanting to reject his destiny, is when we actually get to learn more about whatever his powers are, which it seems to be really pushing towards, as we I think discussed in last episode, like dreams being a bigger thing in this story even than they were before, which is saying a lot. And also, finally, though, they're like more interesting dreams, at least so far, than those stupid repeated Dark One and
that was one of my
dreams.
One of the things I wanted to mention, as we've talked about in the last couple episodes, like better dreams so far. I mean, it's a little too much dreams in general, way too much actually. But this one, I think he's actually in the dream world instead of being like having his dream invaded.
Yeah.
And so he's in that like real world where like things can happen to you, which I guess can still happen in the Balzamon world. But this one was interesting. And it's a lot of speculation as to, especially the gentleman that has his skin ripped off his body.
Yeah. My theory so far about the dreaming is that, so it's like introduced this dream magic stuff, or it's sort of always been there, but it's more explicitly talking about that and how that's like the wolves are related to that. So that reminded me a little bit of Malazan, even like how there'd always be like, oh, this group of ancient creatures or something is like in the realm of whatever and blah, blah, like what reminded me of the Talani Moss or whatever, that kind of stuff.
Or Toggen Fandere, the wolf gods of war.
Yeah. But like, I am enjoying maybe learning a little more about that, and that these things are connected, and maybe like, it seems like the dream world, maybe my theory is that it's like sort of a connection to past lives, or but bridge between the different turnings of the wheel or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something going on
there.
Maybe.
Like when he's like I don't know, are we just straight up talking about what happens in these dreams? Like there's one where it's he like there's hold on, let me just look it up. A woman stood in the middle of the room, frowning at a tattered manuscript laying open on the table. A black-haired, black-eyed, beautiful woman clothed in white and silver. I just hear beautiful woman. I think Lanfear. I have no idea if that's actually supposed to be Lanfear.
Yeah, it's like Padden Fane's nose.
And then she recognized him as like, "What are you doing here?" And then like. This is where I got really confused. Abruptly, the space seemed to flatten as if he was suddenly staring at a picture of the room. The flat image appeared to turn sideways, becoming only a bright vertical line. I imagine like the old, those old school TVs that would kind of do that when you turn them off. They go whoop, into like a little line.
Oh, yeah.
And then shit happens, and then like he's running away. But like, what is it that? Who is that woman? Yeah, who is he seeing there, and like how is he interrupting their lives? So I feel like the Forsaken in a dream world somewhere where they're trapped, but they're actually free to wander to this dream world and kind of do their own things there. Is that what this is trying to show us? That's kind of what I was thinking.
I think they talk about it in the next chapter that, well, assuming that it's the same thing, that dreaming is a talent, like of a true source, the one power. And so I don't know if all of the Forsaken dwell in that, because Lanfear, I think, was like the most talented in dreaming.
Definitely in the show it says that, I think.
Or Damodred. Oh, I don't know. There's other.
I think they talk about how Lanfear actually in the books at some point. I think they've talked about Lanfear without connecting her to Selene, but the way that Lanfear was like strongest in the realm of dreaming, I believe that did come up.
Yeah. I don't think it's based. I think the Forsaken dwell in the real world for the most part, but I don't know. There's always this kind of like in between kind of universe that they dwell in where they're kind of lurking and
don't they like, I think they've talked about before how the Forsaken like can be brought back by the Dark One and stuff, like they die and then they come back.
Yeah.
But I've always taken that as like maybe the form in the what we think of as the real world is, just like an image of them or whatever, a piece of them that they extend out. But that's not where they actually exist. They exist in the dreaming or somewhere else, even locked away. It sounds like Am I remembering correctly? I feel like we got like an update from White Rain or something about
the seals,
the Forsaken. Yeah, the seals. He's like, oh, so many of this many are broken already, or whatever. I don't remember.
Yeah, there's.
I feel like we got a seal update in here somewhere.
We got a count. Yeah,
I thought it was pretty cool in the dream world that Hopper was there, and also, man, whenever he's like, Perrin says he wanted to fly like eagles. It makes me like tear up a little bit. Seriously.
I just somehow it does not land for me. I just because of how short the interaction was with Hopper before Hopper died. It was like he learned about Hopper 3.5 seconds before Hopper died. And now, but like now I'm remembering, okay, yeah, Hopper does kind of come back in these moments. And like, and I remember, I think I just didn't really remember. Yeah.
That's also kind of Malazan.
I think that's why it was more poignant for me, is that I was surprised he died so quickly in book 1. And I was like, man, I feel like he's such a bigger deal. And I think it's because these dream sequences keep going.
And I'm kind of critical of it, but it is kind of interesting to like introduce this character. It's a Wolfie's character. Just so quickly before he dies, and then make that interesting choice, and then just have him keep coming back over and over and over again in the series. I think I'm a critical, but that is kind of at least an interesting choice to make.
My problem with Hopper is much more superficial, Hopper? Which is just, I don't like the name.
Dennis Hopper.
I don't know. It makes me think of several things. It makes me think of the fucking cop from Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, Hopper.
Anyways, not Robert Jordan's fault necessarily for that part of it, but I just don't like the name.
Do you wish his name was Eagle-y?
Yeah.
Eagle-y the wolf? Which I think is the name of the eagle in Peacemaker.
Oh, I haven't watched that, but I heard it was pretty good.
Oh man, it rules.
With a strangled cry, Perrin sat up on his bed. Hands going to his throat to hold in lifeblood. That's what it says immediately after Hopper leaped for Perrin's throat. What was I just wanted to know how you guys felt. Like, was that supposed to be Hopper waking Perrin up? Is that what was going on there?
Yeah, I think so.
Why
like,
is Hopper leaping at his throat?
Because he was like saying, run now, you must not be here, great danger, go now. And then he jumps in his throat. I think it's trying to wake him up, not like actually hurt him.
It's not like some fear of Perrin's or metaphor or something, or just like a false end of the dream or something.
Yeah, maybe it's like the one thing that he's familiar with in that dream attacks him, and that weirdness of like having your friend attack you wakes him up. I don't know.
Yeah, minor thing, but I was curious because I didn't necessarily think it would mean that Hopper was trying to attack him, but never know. Weird things happen in dreams is mostly what I'm thinking. But so he's not actually dying, and then he's
got blood on him from the dude who was skinned alive.
For a second, I kept thinking it was like saying that he was thinking about escaping, running away or something. But I think it's just he just doesn't want those clothes anymore. It's a clothes thing again.
Oh yeah. Because you said he meant to leave them there, Simeon could burn him, but like not leave them there, like leave, but like just not pick up the clothes. And then he opens the window, but that's just to make it cold. Yeah, it's a little confusing. He just wants to be cold and
what
not
is he doing?
Yeah. Which honestly, like I'm a cold sleeper, so like throwing open the windows, man, boom, I'd be out like nothing. That's a good night's sleep if it's cold. Yeah.
Same. As long as you have some blankets to snuggle with.
Well, yeah, you gotta make a little cocoon. You gotta put it over your head and go like this.
I'm a little Eskimo.
That's what I say every night before I go to bed, and Heather's like, "Shut up."
Heather goes, "I'm soft."
Yeah, because that's what she says.
Then we just get a little section here, as we previously mentioned, Rand and. Man, Robert Jordan, I feel like he's crafting his chapters and his pacing, introducing things, and just like his general probably outline of how he wants to construct the book seems to be a little more well thought out, where it's like Rand is only seen from a distance, and then all of a sudden you just get like this tiny little burst of Rand that shows some interesting stuff that I don't really understand, but
this is a great, like, our show don't tell criticism is met here perfectly.
Yeah.
Because there's no it doesn't give you the backstory of where he, like, point A to point B to point C.
No.
He's being chased by dogs and he finally lures one to him and shoots him with something.
A bar of white light, solid as steel, liquid fire. Those are the words.
Now, so this is the thing, though. So he's been hunted by dogs. We've just learned that dogs, like wolves, are in dreams, or they have to do with the dream magic. And he's like being chased by a bunch of them. What is this supposed to be related to Perrin's thing?
I don't think so. This seems to be separate, like, because they're dogs, but like it doesn't actually really say. It just says, "Don't tell me about your master." Blast the dog. Some other dogs come and are howling. Yeah. I think it's supposed to be ambiguous.
My brain kept wanting to make connections here between. Like,
I think it's just supposed to be ambiguous. I don't know if there's connections to make, but yeah,
it could be of the dark. I mean, because dogs have masters.
Yeah, dark friends.
But
you mean? Yeah.
I don't recall any mention of that before and after, but it does mean it's not true.
Well, and I also was like, is this also, are we doing another parallel thing as always between Rand and Perrin? Is this like Rand is also dreaming? But I don't think it says, it sounds like it's real unless we find out otherwise, right? I didn't get any hints that this was also a dream. I just thought it might be.
I mean, it's not a Rand dream because there's no Baalzamon in it.
Yeah,
true.
No hot dudes.
So in other words, Rand's actually running around somewhere, lighting up dogs,
just
with
killing
crazy
dogs, just like
magic.
It's kind of just a weird thing. I guess Robert was like, okay, I need him to be like leveling up and showing some cool stuff, but I don't want him like killing people right now. But like dogs, like, jeez, yeah. But it can't be wolves. Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of painted himself into the corner there. Yeah.
Well, that's why J.R. Tolkien was like, wargs. I'll call them wargs.
Yeah.
And they're evil dog things that the goblins can ride on. And then Rand, he's in a stream, he's running along. He's kind of menacing here at the end, though. The night was quiet behind him, but he ignored that, too. Hunt me. I can hunt, too. I am no easy meat. Rand's getting a little scary.
A little feral.
I kind of like it. I want to see unhinged Rand just like commit his first atrocity. I can't wait for that moment.
This would be great.
So then we get to chapter 10.
Chapter 10.
But first, a word from this week's sponsor.
Hey there, dreamers. You know this feeling? You're settling in for a snooze when that creeping dread starts to climb up your spine. Smelling the midnight stench of monsters lurking in the shadows of your subconscious. Yeah, me too. Me too. Or rather, I used to. Look, we all have those nights. The nights where sleep feels more like a battleground than a sanctuary. Those nights where the Dark One himself seems to be throwing nightmares your way. What if you had a backup?
That's where Dream Wolves come in. Imagine, instead of all those shadowy horrors, powerful, loyal, sexy wolves patrolling your dreamscape. They're there to protect you, to chase away the nightmares, and to ensure you wake up refreshed and ready to face the day.
I know, it sounds a little wild, but trust me, since I subscribe to Dream Wolves, I haven't had a single night terror. I wake up feeling restored, refreshed, invigorated, like I've actually slept, safe and secure. For a limited time, you can get your first month of Dream Wolves for half price. Just visit dreamwolves.net and use the code ThickSmith at checkout. Don't let nightmares rule your nights any longer. Let the wolves protect your dreams. You deserve a peaceful sleep. Chapter 10. Secrets. Egwene's thoughts drift to Luz Theron Kinslayer, Rand, and her dreams as Dragonmount and Tar Valon appear on the horizon. She expresses her concern for Rand, Perrin, and Mat, while Nynaeve warns of a much closer danger, the coming of a storm. Perrin recognizes his own warning signs, but stays tight-lipped about it. Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve make a plan to take quick action to defend themselves, Mat, and the Horn of Valir if necessary, regardless of the consequences in the White Tower. The storm arrives in the form of a large party of White Cloaks led by Dane Bornhald. After a confrontation and series of subtle threats, Elaine provokes Dane by announcing herself as the daughter heir to Andor. Taking quick action in defiance of the prospect of being chained once more, Egwene channels the true source towards the White Cloaks, causing all but Dane to flee. Before leaving the young Bornhald to consider his decisions, Egwene mentions that their journey to the White Tower began in Falm, leading the White Cloak officer to curse them as the murderers of his father. As we talked about before, this fucking cartoon character here of Dane, do you guys think that he's supposed to be, like, intimidating at all?
No,
I feel like he's purely played up for laughs.
He's been real slapstick every time he's come across. He's very self-important. His dad seemed legit, but he's a real fail son if there ever was one. Large adult son, Dane Bornhald.
It's hard for me to figure out exactly like what his character is, just because I'm also a little conflicted with the show. Because in the show, I feel like he's a completely different guy. He's like introduced in season 2, meets Perrin in this village, and they're like kind of like bond for a minute. they're just like two chill dudes talking it out.
Seems more like chivalrous or honorable.
Yeah, and then Perrin like does he sees him like fighting the White Cloaks later on in Falm, and that ruins their potential friendship, it seems like, or like causes them to be on different sides of this fight. So like it's probably gonna have a similar relationship again, but like in the book it's Child Bayar who is obsessed with Perrin. I don't think Dane maybe he would know Perrin from way back in Baerlon or whatever, but what do you guys think this is setting up here? Everyone goes into Tar Valon, so like he obviously can't penetrate Tar Valon and get them there. I wouldn't imagine that's where the story's going.
Yeah, and they kind of talk about it with the guards and everything, like that the White Cloaks are trying to goad them into reacting.
Yeah.
It just seems a little crazy that the White Cloaks can be here doing this when everybody is so devoted to the Aes Sedai. It's all a little weird to me, but yeah, it's definitely setting up that I think he's going to be the really anti-Aes Sedai plus anti-Perrin. Oh, no, that's the other guy who's anti-Perrin.
That seems a little bit of weird addition, but we do have some other stuff before that, this chapter.
It is weird, and this is kind of abstract, but it does seem like Egwene and Nynaeve are, I mean, especially Egwene is not, like, Verin bites off their heads for, like, shooting their mouth off and, like, talking shit to the White Cloaks, or like Elaine saying she's the princess heir of Andor. And it seems like no one has learned anything. Like the main 5 characters have not really learned anything in over a year since they've left Emond's Field. And they've been in constant danger and fighting, trauma. Egwene was just enslaved.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't seem to affect them beyond like, God, I hate the fact that I was enslaved. I never want to be enslaved again.
It made her a little bit more violent. Yeah.
Perrin, Nynaeve, and Egwene, all within this last couple chapters here, are all doing the thing where they just like tell strangers when anyone could be a dark friend or like an enemy, or spread news that they don't want spread. They tell people things that they shouldn't. That happens several times with all these. Yes, you're definitely right. But also I feel like I'm not too hard on I've actually thought that Egwene's being chained and not wanting to be collared again things is like one of the more interesting character driving forces that we've seen so far in the books. It's like much more,
maybe that was part of her response, and she was also like, Matt's gonna die, we have to keep moving. That part was good.
Yeah, but then she keeps getting distracted and talking to people. I don't know. She did remind me of those lawyer cop, or the lawyers who tell you not to talk to cops on Instagram. Shut the fuck up. If a guard talks to you, asks you if that's the Horn of Valir, what do you say? Shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah, Verin. Yeah, we'll talk about some stuff with Verin where she's like, I don't know what she's doing later on, where she's stopping and talking to these people about the fucking white cloaks and whatever, and I don't feel like it ever really explained what if she had some like ulterior motive, but she is doing that thing where she's like, shut the fuck up, but also, why are you acting this way? They even, like, in this chapter, they talk about how if they get warned that there's a storm coming, we also get confirmation from Verin that there's something bad that's going to happen. And then all these young girls that aren't even Aes Sedai yet are like, okay, well, if something happens, we need to be ready to just pop off and accept the consequences, even if it means we get stilled. They make this whole plan because they know that Verin is like not going to do shit if it happens. And it turns out, it's like, Verin's pretty confident she could have talked her way out of this thing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I'm kind of on Egwene and Nynaeve and Elaine's side there.
It did not seem good.
No.
Like, that interaction did not seem like it was going to end well.
And they have the Horn of Valir and Matt that's like literally on the clock. Like, they're like, he's got like hours. He's almost toast. Yeah,
Verin is basing it on like her 200 years of existence where the White Cloaks are like, fuck you, and the Aes Sedai are like, fuck you, and then they just go about their business. But this is Dane Bornhald, whose father was who he thinks was just killed by Aes Sedai, or the Dragon Reborn. And then the stakes are so high for Matt and the Horn. The Ace, actually, I'm more pissed off about like Verin just abiding, like, and she's one of the rogue Aes Sedai that are like more, outside the book. I think she's pretty rogue, and she's still like chastising them for operating outside of tradition or like stricture or whatever, where this is like the biggest fucking thing they'll ever do in their entire lives. Every moment is the biggest thing they've done up to that point.
And Egwene has been not only chained by the Shan-Chan, she's been actually chained by the fucking White Cloaks as well. And the guy, he's literally like, well, we should just take you back to our camp and give you to the questioners at some point. And then he's like raising his arm or whatever, like he's calling for, he just like learned that Elaine was the daughter heir and said that it'll probably be a good thing that I take you in or whatever. Like, I don't blame Egwene setting up. And then like they made this plan and Egwene like started the thing. She started first channeling towards these dudes, and then I think it suggests that both Nynaeve and Egwene and Elaine contribute eventually. Like, I'm totally on Egwene's side there, but that's why I'm also like, when we'll see some of the stuff that Verin does along the way here, but I'm like, what is up with her? What is she doing? I wanted like a thing where Verin does this weird stuff that you don't quite understand, but then Verin like gives you these complicated, interesting reasons why she's like doing this stuff, make her seem like more of like a really wise Aes Sedai that's like 3 steps ahead of everybody and understands all these dynamics of different factions. And
I think a theme up to this point is like Aes Sedai hubris is they're not living in the moment. They don't understand the stakes while it's happening. They can understand it theoretically, where they're reading in a books like, oh, the prophecies and like things are. Moiraine, I guess, would be the exception in some cases, but they're still like playing at apocalypse instead of participating in it.
Like there's a crisis going on at a company, and the executives are just like doing it like slow style. We got to pass everything through a million different people and fill out all the forms and do all this shit. And meanwhile, people are dying out in the hallways.
Yeah, or like there's a fascist takeover in the government and the opposition is just wearing t-shirts. Something like that.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh, man.
So the Aes Sedai are the do-nothing Democrats, and the
White Cloaks. You're the White Cloaks. That's the other side. Yeah.
Those are the evangelicals.
Yeah. Well, there's a dark friend has taken over the White Cloaks. We'll say it that way. Yeah.
The White Cloaks are trying to take over the state of Florida right now and make it its own White Cloak country.
God, just give it to them.
Anyways, secrets. Okay, well, let's go through what happens a little bit here at the beginning. I do like, I also forgot, I was going to put this in the summary. I was at Bella as a character. I did appreciate that we still get Bella talk all the time with
the only named horse, is still with us. Yeah. Oh, guys, no, there's Mandarb and
Mandarb.
Yeah.
The other one.
No,
there was one.
Moraine's
Rand
horse.
had like Shadow or something. Yeah.
Red.
Red, that's what it was.
Shadow is Gandalf's horse, right?
Is Gandalf, yeah. I like how we also had Huron in here, which it felt to me, I wasn't sure at first. I was like, are we going to get Huron as like a long-term character? Is that what's going on here? It was weird to me because I felt like I came to the conclusion by the end of last book that there were some good moments with Huron, but he was pretty like under-characterized, and most of what he was like an object for
sniffing
Perrin to have like his awakening, to like introduce this idea of sniffing that then Perrin would pretend to do, and blah blah blah. Like it seemed like he was mostly there to serve a purpose more than anything. I really liked when he was like being the total supplicant to Rand. That was pretty funny. That was some fun stuff, but other than that, he didn't really do much. And then in this book, I was like, is he going to be big in this book still? Like, are we going to keep him around? But at least at this point, I got the impression that Robert Jordan just felt the need to like wrap up Huron or something.
Like, get this fucker out of here! Like he didn't even have. Yeah,
I think it was a good arc. I mean, he was kind of he's a minor character. He didn't have much personality, but like he went through, like he was noble and brave, and he did his thing.
Sure.
And he got to, go back home to Shinar.
Yeah.
And he kind of went out as like the women like thought he was, the badass, or, he was kind of the muscle in the group. So he kind of had a little like arc, or just kind of went full circle of like kind of being like the wimp when you're around all the Shinarans and the Dragon Reborn. And then when you're escorting women to Tar Valon, he's a man, tough guy.
I don't remember it calling him this in the last book, but maybe I just missed it or forgot about it. It called him a thief taker, which I guess I remember is like a old timey British word for a rent-a-cop basically, or a bounty hunter.
When they picked him up on the way out of Faldara, they call him that. Yeah, and I don't think they talk about it again.
Then they just call him a sniffer after that.
Yeah, but I do remember on the way out,
Uno, Massimo.
No, the boss, the
Ingtar,
calls him a thief taker.
Okay, I realized that he's like supposed to be like a special forces compared to a rent-a-cop is kind of the vibe that I got with the Shinarans. But yeah, I feel like this is the last we'll hear of Huron, or maybe he'll like show up way later in some other book really randomly.
Can I talk about two inconsistencies I've noticed? And maybe you can easily dispel them, but I just want to run them by you just to make sure I'm not crazy. In the second book, Huron smells violence and murder after it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
But in this book, he smells it before it's happened.
Yeah, he gets like really jittery when some guy just yells something, right? And like starts sniffing. Like, I noticed that as well. And I think it's just being a little loosey-goosey with the lore, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's more to it than that.
Or maybe he can sniff bad feelings and intent too.
And also there's like people like when I add on to that. So they referenced they were in an inn and they were attacked by an innkeeper and like a couple cut purses.
Yeah.
That's so random.
Yeah.
And so
what? Yeah.
Like probably Huron smelled it out because the innkeeper lives there and works there. But the biggest thing is, how much do you want to bet that innkeeper was skinny?
Yeah, absolutely. Very skinny, probably had some kind of nose and probably did some kind of physical violence to one of his serving people as if they couldn't take the hint.
I feel like would have made the sniffing thing a lot more interesting is if it was like explained more as not just like, oh, he sniffs out violence or evil or whatever. If it did like a Sherlock Holmes style, like in like the TV and movies that they've done where like, he sniffs these things, and using that sense, it's like he does a little like detective work, which would make sense for him being like a cop investigator bounty hunter character where like he puts it together. He's like, oh, I smelled the smell of horses on this innkeeper and blah, blah. You know, he like did these calculations where he came up with very complicated reasons that no one else will be able to put together of like how he knew that this innkeeper was going to try and rob him or that kind of shit. But no, we just get like, it's all, you sniff out things and you get vibes.
Yeah.
So that was the minor thing, but this one's, I guess, is minor too, but I'm probably just forgetting, and you guys can easily dispel this, but in the first book, winter was harsh and the longest winter they had in a long time. And then, so they finally, at the end of the book, I think they're like encountering spring.
Mm-hmm.
Late spring, yeah.
And so they go into an entire year has passed, I think. And so winter is now melting away again. But why was this winter, what did they do? It seems like that winter was the first
so bad.
winter. Was
people are terrible.
Like an omen of like the dark one's coming. And so why has it just gone back to normal?
El Nino.
Am I just forgetting something?
It was expressing itself more in places like Emmonsfield and the Two Rivers, like up in the mountains and shit more, but like, you know, more moderate climates overall here. I don't know. Maybe it's just the difference of where they are. It's probably just that Robert Jordan didn't really care or think about that very much.
That's what I'm thinking. Because it seemed like that was like part of like, you know, the Dark One coming back and like winter, the winter is here trope, pre-trope.
I mean, I could kind of see how he might want to be like, okay, exactly like that first winter was really bad, but now Rand's kind of fought against the Dark One a little bit and weakened his power a little bit, but it's never called out. So I don't think this is actually what's going on here. Yeah, it'd be a good idea if it was though.
We're definitely in like we're still in the zone of like Robert Jordan feeling out his universe and like, what do I want to run with here? Do I care about Mordreth and Shadow Logoth? Do I care about the Shan Chan,
Padan Thane, and the dagger?
Yeah. And some things he just, you know, discards, which is fine, but I just want to make sure I'm not glazing over important things like that.
As we kind of talked through a lot of actually what happens later here, at least as far as like Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine kind of conspiring here. We set up that Matt's on his fucking deathbed. Elaine seems to be especially concerned about Matt, which is interesting. I don't remember if there's any reason why.
Have they talked?
I was like, do they have any relationship at all? I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I don't think Elaine and Matt have ever exchanged words on page, because she was doing her whole thing, didn't meet him at all in the first time they went through Camp Andor. Then at Tar Valon, she was at Tar Valon, Matt wasn't there. Then when they all met up in Falm, it would have just been in the aftermath of the battle, but we didn't get any of that. And then Matt was immediately so sick he was dying, even though he had just been like riding around on a horse and blowing a horn like 20 pages before.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I don't
really took it out of him.
Yeah. Holding the correct embouchure for
You guys think Matt was busting out the circular breathing on that horn?
He probably was. Was he Kenny G style, just holding that note for like 17 minutes? Yeah.
So they, they conspire, whatever. I do like how they scared away Huron. He's just like, yeah, there is danger coming. There is a storm. Anyways, I'm going to go up with Verin, see ya. And he just kicks his horse off and goes.
Okay, bye.
And then like 5 minutes later, we get young Bornhald shows up here. And we've talked a little bit about this. I don't know what else there is to say. He's a fucking cartoon character. I don't know what his whole thing is going to be, but as far as we've seen so far, he's not actually scary or like intimidating. But he does, I like how they make some comment when they're talking to him where I think Verin says like, the only way that the White Cloaks might get us stand up against Aes Sedai is like to surprise us, like ambush us, basically.
Yeah.
Use treachery, and he's like immediately like, Yeah, well, so how you're a fucking Aes Sedai or whatever, which is definitely very different because, like Ben was saying in the show, I think Dane is presented as being like this honorable guy who's like, a little smarter than your average white cloak as far as like the truth of how the world works and not seeing it all in black and white. But in here, yeah, he seems like he's just purely like, you killed my dad, I hate all you Aes Sedai, blah, blah, blah. He also is probably scarred by Moiraine way back in the day. Basically, Verin gets mad at them, and they move on with that. They just leave him sitting there on the road without his horse and whatever. Yeah, pretty silly stuff.
I picture him with his little butt, like onesie pajama flaps, with his little butt flap out, and like,
right?
Oh, daddy!
I'm picturing him like sitting on his butt and then like kicking his feet like he's mad, like no.
And their horses walk by. One of them farts in his face
with a JD Vance face.
Yeah. That's a really random. I was like, what is this trend? It was all of a sudden just how can we Photoshop JD Vance to look even more like a member of the Lollipop Guild or whatever.
He's a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Yeah, or Garbage Pail Kid.
Oh yeah,
that fucking piece of shit. JD Vance, if you hear this, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, JD Vance he's a huge supporter of the White Cloaks.
He'd be the guy who'd be like, oh, I was gonna join the White Cloaks, but like, I was just actually too fast in the tryouts. So like they said they didn't want me like getting ahead of everyone else, so I couldn't join the White Cloaks.
I realized I could do more help by using my position to further the mission of the White Cloaks on the less militant side of things. Yeah, exactly. He hates these Tarvalin witches, something about breaking the world, and then Verin yells at them afterwards, which I don't think we got to really saying exactly what she's going to do later on. But you guys think is Verin, she set to like get them in trouble, or is she gonna is she just yelling at them so she can then like also cover for them later a little bit and not like maybe tell?
I kind of feel like it's the latter. Like she's on the good team, but she's just like, Nynaeve, shut the fuck up.
She's just trying to like wield some influence, but I mean they know the big secret, and so she's not going to compromise that.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought too. Also, fucking Elaine just like drops. What was she thinking? She just dropped like that she's the daughter heir of Andor to this White Cloak. Like he was gonna give a shit. Like exactly what happens. Like I just feel like in any sense that just becomes like something that makes him want to take her more. Do you guys remember? Is Elaine ever like a POV character? Do we read from Elaine's perspective?
I feel like we got to at some point, but it's just be like
not at this point.
Yeah.
But
not now.
Crumpets. My crown is fitting.
I'm sure we will.
It's interesting not reading from her perspective and having her around quite a bit,
I mean, she really hasn't even been in that many scenes.
Yeah. Mostly towards the second half of the last book.
Yeah.
She really came in.
But technically has probably been in more scenes than she has.
True.
But she's way bigger. She's much bigger than he is.
She has much more important energy. She has aura.
Yeah, she's got blonde hair and slinging titties. So she's a main character.
Oh man. Okay, we got one. One more shorter. Maybe this is the longer chapter, actually.
Chapter 11, Tarvalin. The Tarvalin troop of characters arrive at their destination, passing through an outlying village and crossing an impressive bridge clearly built with magic. Entering Tarvalin proper, Huron departs to continue his journey back to Shinar, while everyone else heads to the tower. Verin tells them all to be quiet. Shireen, the mistress of novices, greets them. Matt is carried off for healing, while Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine are subjected to a mild scolding and are confined to their rooms under the guard of some accepted. You do get a really good description of Tarvalin.
That's what I was gonna say.
And the bridge.
Yeah, we got. I felt like Robert Jordan got a lot more into describing clothing but also when he describes clothing, it's been even though he writes a ton of it in there, I feel like it's pretty like, and this person was wearing this thing, and this person was wearing this. It's not even usually written in like a way that makes, it's not like a super evocative. It's just like purely describing what someone's actually wearing. And that was kind of like what the description of where the places that they were at was a lot of the time, if it even bothered to really describe them at all, besides like they were in a glade in a forest, or they were in a small village and there was a building there. But this is like one of the first times where I've actually been reading it and it's like, okay, this is like some evocative imagery. That was pretty good. I liked that. It describes like every building as being like its own work of art.
They did describe Tar-Valon before with like, and I actually didn't remember this from reading it, and they didn't depict it this way in the show because it would be expensive, but all the buildings like waves and clamshells and like natural things, which is awesome, which is very Ogier. And I think it's cool. I mean, it's a very like unique description of like a fantasy city. You know, of course, the White Tower and the spherical towers like look like those weird shells that twist into a fine point, but it seems like kind of like the, you know, most metropolitan city in the world, and it's kind of a, I don't even know what to compare it against with in our world.
Las Vegas.
It's not like a true like government. I mean, the Amerlin seat rules, but it's not like a nation in a true sense, like a Singapore or
like a college town. Like
college. The White Tower is the college.
Yeah, exactly. And, the municipal government's is like, well, what are we gonna do with all these fucking students? Yeah.
Everybody, all the cops are campus cops.
Yeah.
There was like maybe like the Vatican a little bit. I don't know. Also, I did appreciate at the beginning of this chapter, we just get a map inserted into the middle of the book. A certain
this is the highlights
map.
Yeah.
It's man, these Tar-Valon witches, they don't play subtlety.
No, it's a vagina. Just say it. And it's not even oriented north to south. It's oriented to make it even look more vagina-y on the page, because this river is apparently flowing northwest to southeast. But yeah, man, that's the river and the island and tower and the North Harbor. Shit.
Nobody knows where North Harbor is. It's not a real thing.
I can never find it. Yeah.
Some say it's the most fun place to play in in the whole island, but you know, I don't believe that it actually exists. I haven't ever been there.
You're more of a South Harbor guy.
I can't believe I never saw that or heard. I used to be on like message boards, and maybe it just talks about it's just a commentary on who is on the message boards of the Wheel of Time.
They've never seen
but no one even like made that connection.
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s internet nerds talking about Wheel of Time were not maybe even if they noticed, they don't even care to mention it. They're just too busy talking about
God, that's so fucking. Do you think Robert Jordan was like, man, I got those bitches? I don't know, like I don't even know what are the like what is the thought process between because it's not that funny. Like, why would you make a vagina-shaped island?
Well, he probably didn't draw this.
Well,
right?
I mean, a lot of islands are vaguely vagina-shaped, but it's yeah.
But maybe it was the artist.
I feel like whoever drew this was like, wouldn't it be funny if I made the White Tower Island with all the Aes Sedai look like a big old vagina? I feel like
it could be
that's closer to what happened.
A subversion by the artist.
Yeah.
The pussy of the world.
It's either okay, and here's the other thing. I'll give a little ambiguity here. Maybe the person that drew this was just as clueless as those fucking nerds on the forums. Like maybe they didn't even realize that they did that. It's possible. Probable? I'm not even sure. I think I lean 65% the person knew exactly what they were doing. But I'll leave them a little benefit of the doubt, at least.
Should we make the rest of this podcast a true crime podcast to figure out who decided to draw the vagina in the Dragon Reborn?
And we noticed something that hasn't been pointed out before in anything we could find in our research.
Maps by Thomas Canty and Elisa Mitchell. Okay, one of those two.
Thomas or Elisa, which one of you did this? We'll track them down. We'll do some interviews. We'll get them in the studio. We don't have.
Let's knock on their fucking door
with a microphone. Yeah. I don't think there's much to talk about with this map, except to say that it's cool to have, and it might come in handy later on. I imagine that there is some stuff taking place in this area of this book. I don't know if I thought we were going to get a lot more time in the last book, but it introduced the Tar Valon stuff like a good ways into that book, and then moved away from Tar Valon like almost immediately.
Yeah.
It was like Leandrin shows up and is like, let's go.
Road trip.
Sends them off. Egwene thinks that it feels like home coming back, which is interesting.
Yeah. She says, there was actually this line in here I liked where she's thinking about her family. She said she'd already gone beyond being an innkeeper's daughter. Those bonds would not hold her again either, not because she hated them, but because she had outgrown them. I kind of like that. That's a good way of thinking about growing up. Like, she doesn't hate her old family, but that's just not like who she is anymore.
I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I really like Egwene's got the whole, I will not be chained. I will not be enslaved. She's clearly like, also she's like, she knows that she's done with Rand. She's just like, we're never going to be together, blah, blah. She's like moved on. She's accepted her destiny, more or less. She's like, I'm going to be an Aes Sedai, if anything else, just so I'm more, powerful than these people that could potentially lock me up or whatever, or come to harm me. I don't know. Egwene's like a much more interesting character as far as like embracing who she is goes, and accepting, like we said, this is her home now, and she's just going to do this thing. I'm excited to see where her story goes now that she's like that. It's like, she also at the beginning, was it in last chapter or this chapter? I think it was the beginning of last chapter. There was like a moment where she's talking to Nynaeve, and she just like, she goes in for a dig on Nynaeve, like where she's like, says something about Lan, like, will Lan ever figure out his shit or whatever? Like she says something that's like bugs the crap out of Nynaeve, and she knows it's going to, like, she purposely is wounding her, and then she's like, it felt really good, but I did feel a little bit guilty about it because it's not really me, but also it felt really good.
Yeah, she said like, I wanted to do this, but I don't actually feel pleasure from it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or
something like that.
Yeah.
Jinx.
And another note, just real fast, they're talking about all the different people in Tar Valon, and they're like explaining the variety of people, dark skin and light skin and all that. And then they say people who had more skin were showing more skin than proper, or revealing nothing but eyes and fingertips. And I'm like, don't let Brandon Sanderson hear that. Fingertips exposed? Oh my God.
Gotta cover that up.
Cover that shit up.
With one hand.
He just like he rewrites the whole series around everyone having their hands covered. And also, Ben, you did say like, I just listened to the first episode that we did on this book, and you said when Nynaeve appears, it's going to be a tornado of shitstorm of anger and braid tugging, and that's exactly what it was. When I went back and looked at it, she's just pissed off and tugging her braid the second you see her.
I listened to that today, and I was like, oh, count it.
I think there's a moment also we didn't mention where Egwene says something about, she points out her divided riding skirts, but it says like, it doesn't exactly say that. It says like her dress that was divided for riding by herself, like she did it herself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it didn't say divided riding skirt. It said a dress that had been divided for riding, but pretty much.
It's a PG-13 version of divided riding skirts.
He's teasing us. We're edging.
Yeah. But yeah, we do get some braid tugging. So they ride into town. Yeah, we get the description of the town, blah, blah, blah. I guess the next thing would be the fucking encounter with these guards. So this is one of those things I want to talk about with Verin. You guys get the sense that she like knows that Matt is in trouble or whatever, and they need to get back, and she keeps delaying or being like, it's fine, whatever, we don't need to hurry. But like she doesn't, I don't see what she gets out of this interaction. Asking her questions, it seems like, more than she's asking him questions.
She basically all is like, hey, you've been having trouble with White Cloaks? She's like, yep. And then he asks her a bunch of questions, and she just like calmly sitting there answering him. Yeah, and then everyone, like, they try to cut in line, and then everyone in line yells, and this is where Huron, like, this is where his moment is, where he breathes deeply and shifts himself as if expecting violence when people are getting mad, which is not quite his power last time. Yeah, I mean, so basically the guards says basically what is actually happening in Falm, and she says, rumors are seldom true. I can tell you that Falm still stands. It isn't even in Terabon, guardsmen. Listen less to rumor and more to the Amerlin Sea. Like, no, I mean, technically all those things you just said are true, Verin. But actually what the officer said before that was even more true. This is the typical lying but not lying bullshit that they do.
I hate the Aes Sedai way more than I did the first time I read this series.
Yeah. I feel like you're supposed to somehow think that they're like better in both morals and like skill in navigating what's going on. I feel like you're supposed to think as the reader that they are better than they actually come across in the writing. I'm not sure. But.
Yeah, I think it's Robert Jordan's projecting of like a woman's place or the attributes of a perfect woman or something. And I mean, we're biting off more than we can chew here, but yeah, the Aes Sedai are almost more inhuman and detached than any random character.
Especially when you compare a lot of these Aes Sedai you meet, like Verin and Shuriam and Leandrin and some of these other random ones, like they're so much less interesting in that way than like Moiraine. It makes Moiraine, who I had some complaints about too, like seem so much better by comparison. Like you understand why she's the cool one.
A jailbroken, someone cracked the code on the Aes Sedai, and she can have free will.
I don't know then, what exactly it is that Verin gets out of here, out of this interaction.
Just being withholding, getting off.
Making, maybe she's just punishing Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve.
Yeah.
By being like, you guys have to endure this even though your friend's gonna die. They go into the tower. It's mostly the description of the town, of the city in here for a while.
Yeah, Verin yells, "Be silent." I like that a lot before they go in.
I did think one interesting thing to note is that like this has all happened so fast after Falm that Huron's like, no, I have to go like tell Lord Agilmar and the Shinarans exactly what happened. And like they wouldn't know because like Ingtar is dead and all that, like a bunch of shit happened, and he's like one of the only people that could tell the truth. So I don't know if we'll even ever come back to fucking Agilmar, at least not for a long time, but maybe that's a lead on to some other storyline down the line. But other than that, we part with Huron, and there's this thing where it says Egwene felt a sense of loss with Huron's going. He would barely talk to any of them except Matt, and Verin was right. He was only a man and helpless as a babe when it came to facing whatever might await them in the tower. And he had been a link to Rand and Perrin.
Because he'd been traveling with them the full time, but then he switched parties to join them. Yeah, I don't really get it.
I didn't understand what that was about. And then also she says, and that leads her to think, and Min will certainly look after Rand. And she thought with a flash of jealousy that she tried to suppress, she almost succeeded.
Cuck.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying earlier, she has like figured out that she's not going to be with Rand, but I think it makes sense that she's still like, she's feeling the feelings, she can't really help it, but she just knows.
I say cuck, but I do like that aspect of like, the folks that are fated to be together do not, end up together. And one of them realizes it before the other and like becomes accepting of it.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's still feeling the feelings, but she can't help that. But she knows intellectually that it's not going to work. When we do finally get Matt in there, by the way, they just like cart him off, right? Just like some random Aes Sedai.
Ew, get him out of here.
Like his breath is like rattling. Like he's clearly just a corpse at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of weird. Like, because that was another thing. Like, what is Verin doing? She's not explaining anything. She just lets random people come up and take Matt away and expects they'll figure out that he's on his deathbed from Shadar Logoth dagger magic, and they need to do group healing on him immediately.
That's part of that hubris and like just kind of frustrating Aes Sedai shit that I'm annoyed with.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, maybe there's some stuff that redeems them, but the lack of urgency and disregard for others is annoying.
Yeah. How the hell do you guys say this name? There's some, I think it's an accepted that they meet. Fowlane?
Oh, Fowlane? Yeah. Fowlane sounds pretty funny.
Fowlane.
And Theodrin? That sounds like that's a dude name, Theodrin. I am Theodrin, and I too am a wilder. But yeah, I mean, you're getting kind of like, because, there's this class dynamic that's in the White Tower, plus there's like this whole accepted versus full Aes Sedai versus novice thing. And then there's also like the wilders versus the non-wilders, which is the first time we're really getting a hint of that. Like the even full Aes Sedai still kind of have a chip on their shoulder depending on how they kind of came into the tower.
Like the mudbloods in the Harry Potter universe. Is this leading into, are we going to get what I thought we were going to get last book, which is Harry Potter of the Wheel of Time universe? Are we going to get White Tower school time?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
They go to class. They got professor teaches defense against the dark arts and whatever, potion making class. And there's not actually potions in this, is there? That's more of a naive thing, a poultice.
That's a wisdom thing. I mean, yes. I think there is some more like schooling and like going through their magic, but like the plot advances too fast for them to just hang around and do that for a while. What I remember, I mean, now we're farther than I've been in, since, almost 20 years ago.
Jesus. I like the Witcher series, has some good potion making in it, but
yeah. They don't get into like Eye of Newt, Testicle of a Toad, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Or even like what he does in the Kavoth, the Kingslayer Chronicles. Or where it's just like there's a lot of like, here's my credits this semester and all the classes I took, and here's some drama that happened in every single class, and here's my teachers. And I kind of like that if it's well done. I don't really like Harry Potter all that much, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was good in Kingkiller.
But alas, none of that in here. Instead we get these. Are these 3 accepted that we've just been introduced to? Are they gonna like be other characters too? I feel like those are introduction to classmates.
Yeah,
vibe
he always brings them back. So
I don't actually remember any of them. I mean, we don't like you were asking, like, does it become like a School of Magic book or series? And no. But we do learn a lot more about the Aes Sedai and the different Ajas and like what their philosophies are and like their politics. We learn a lot about that.
It's going to be like Harry Potter if Harry Potter just got to school every year and then immediately had some crazy shit happen that pulled him out of school to go do something.
Yeah, but the teachers like fought each other, which I guess they kind of do in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Says Fowlane was this one will definitely choose the Reds, which everyone hates the Reds, which Leandrin was one. I don't think we've gotten a very good impression of them so far.
I don't think we will.
Once more compared to Harry Potter, I always thought, even when I was a kid and I read it, I thought that was really weird in Harry Potter that like you get to school and like it kind of does some like essentialism and like reminds me of almost like eugenics or something. Like it's like these people are inherently the bad ones. We have Slytherin.
Well, like, why do you accept these kids into your school? Like, why do you have a special house for bad kids? Like,
yeah, like these are the evil kids. We tolerate their presence. We also give them training. They're probably going to try to kill us someday.
Or they're not even necessarily evil when they get there, but you're like, you're going to be evil.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's your thing now.
The hat says.
Yeah. That's what I get about Red Aja, though, is that Red Aja is kind of the Slytherin of the Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
100%.
So anyways, I think that's pretty much the end here. It ends with Egwene just thinking, light let them be healing Matt. We're not exaggerating that. They just take Matt away, and they're left being like, I sure hope they're doing something.
God,
I do appreciate Egwene's urgency. And if it were one of you guys, I would like to think I would feel the same and vice versa.
I sure hope they're healing.
You take somebody to like the emergency room, but you're not like good enough friends with them to go in the back. So you just go like, no, I'm just going to get my phone.
This guy's mortally wounded, but wait, tell me the rumblings of the countryside, would you please, kind
security guard?
What news?
When you get like accidentally talk to somebody on a mission in an RPG, like skip,
and then you press the button too fast because you're skipping a whole bunch, and you accidentally start the entire dialogue tree over again.
Or you attack them.
You're just pumping a.
God damn it!
Yeah, swing your sword at them immediately as soon as you finish the conversation. One thing. Looked at the next chapter. Next chapter opens up with Suan Sanch, whatever her name is.
Swan Sanch?
I didn't realize, at least at this point in the story, we were going to get fucking the Amerlin seat herself as a POV. That's pretty interesting.
I still just think whenever we say Amerlin seat, of a big talking chair with like a Pope hat on and like googly eyes.
Yeah.
On the Amerlin seat.
But then it turns around and it's got a big old dump truck of an ass.
Of course.
Somehow.
Of course.
A chair with an ass.
Yeah, I can't get horny if there's no dump truck and ass on the chair.
We want to try and predict these chapters.
No, I'm too tired.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the juice for that.
There's
right
not
now.
too many good ones in here anyway. So we'll just say that the Amerlin seat is about a large talking chair.
With a big old ass in the back.
Big old dump truck ass.
I think that's enough.
Yep. Done. Because we'll leave our listeners with that.
No, punishments is just an entire some S&M thing. Egwene is into that now because of her trauma with actually being chained up. She's taking her power
Stockholm
back.
syndrome. Yep.
It's the only way she can come.
That brings us to the end of another episode of the Bridgeburners Book Club. We would love it if you follow us on Instagram at Bridgeburners Book Club, on Twitter at BridgeburnersBC, and find us on YouTube at Bridgeburners Book Club, where we post full episodes, clips, and polls. If you would like to write in, shoot us an email at bridgeburnersbc@gmail.com with any comments, questions, or contentions, and maybe we'll read them on air. You can also join our Discord with the link in the episode description for discussions, questions, or to post your best memes. It really helps the show to grow if you give us a rating on Apple and Google Podcasts, so please consider helping. I'm the Sean Chan, and for my co-hosts, Ben Bowie and Tyler the Creator, thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week.
Shariam, the mastress,